Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Breaking overnight, a raging inferno. More homes go up in flames in Santa Clarita as the tick fire continues to grow. The latest on the firefight across the state coming up.
Also overnight, a man is dead and another wounded after being shot in East Bakersfield. The latest on the investigation coming up.
It's almost time for Friday Night Football. We have a look at the best matchups tonight as we round out the last few games of the season. It's Friday, October 25th, 2019. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher, and the weather is still the big talk today because up and down the state we're seeing this fire danger and some big fires. Yeah,
especially in Southern California where they see the Santa Ana winds just howling this morning. Let's check in with Alyssa Carlson this morning for a first look at your forecast.
Yes, certainly looking at windy conditions down there as well as here near the base of the Grapevine. That's where we continue to watch for windy conditions here right now. Red flag warning. This is in effect through tonight at 10 o'clock, and today we'll be looking for winds here gusting upwards of 45 miles per hour. So at this point, it looks like the gustiest of the winds are near the base of the Grapevine and then down into the Southland, and that is where things are really picking up. So we're going to continue to watch for windy conditions, especially this morning as we take a look at the current wind gusts, 40 to 50 miles per hour if you are driving then through the Grapevine. Meanwhile, I have received word that out into the Tehachapi Stallion Springs area, some areas have received power turning back on, although the wind still has been howling out in Bear Valley Springs throughout the overnight hours. 55 degrees here into Tehachapi, and then looking at 59 in Fraser Park, 57 now in Bakersfield, 53 in Wasco. We're going to talk about the fire danger and more coming up in your complete pinpoint forecast. First look at traffic this morning with Alex.
All right, Alyssa, thanks so much. And taking you outside for the first time this morning, and things are looking pretty good on the 99 at Airport Drive. And we do have one minor accident being reported on Edison Highway near Sterling Road, although it looks like CHP is trying to clear everything off. They said the roadway is clear. Just be mindful of that. Also be mindful of the winds that are howling, especially over the Grapevine. You just heard Alyssa talking about that. And if you're headed down south and you plan on using the 5 freeway, everything looks clear. I know that yesterday they had shut down both the north and southbound lanes because of the Old Water fire and the tick fire. Now the 5 is back open, both north and southbound lanes, because the Old Water fire is nearly contained. However, the tick fire has jumped the 14 freeway down in Santa Clarita and therefore has shut down that freeway. So if you're planning on using the 14 today, just be mindful that the tick fire is still raging down there and has closed the freeway, the 14 freeway, this morning. So we'll keep you updated on that throughout the morning if anything changes, but it looks like it's going to be closed for quite some time as fire crews continue to battle that fire. And of course, we'll have more on that fire coming up in just a few minutes, but everything else around the county looking pretty good. We'll have another check coming up in about 15 minutes.
And this morning, we're bringing you updates on those public safety power shutoffs across the state for both Socal, Edison, and PG&E customers. This morning, PG&E has not said when power will be restored in Kern County. The company originally said 75 homes and businesses would be impacted, but in the end, fewer than 40 customers were impacted by the shutoffs. On the PG&E website, it says power restoration is underway for all other affected counties across the state. Meantime, more than 4,300 homes and businesses in Kern are still in the dark after Socal Edison cut power early yesterday. That number was originally more than 5,300, so a few people are getting their power back on this morning. The safety shutoffs are focused in Tehachapi, Bear Valley Springs, Stallion Springs, and Walker Basin as far as Kern County goes. More than 15,000 Kern customers are being warned that they could have their power shut off. Most of the Socal Edison outages are in Santa Clarita, Simi Valley, San Bernardino, and the greater LA area. The shutoffs there due to the fires that broke out across Southern California yesterday.
And again, here are some reminders of how to sign up for public safety power shutoff alerts. If you're a PG&E customer, you can get alerts sent directly to your phone. All you have to do is text the word enroll to 97633. For Socal Edison customers, you can sign up for alerts by going to the Outage Alert Preferences page in your SCE.com profile, but you will need to set up an SCE.com user ID in order to complete the process. And we're following some breaking news right now out of Santa Clarita. Of course, we're talking about the tick fire that continues to burn this morning. The tick fire is burning about 80 miles south of Bakersfield, and right now homes are on fire. This is video into our newsroom from just a few minutes ago showing one home going up in flames, and you can just see how that fire is just consuming that two-story structure. This morning, LA fire officials said the fire did jump the freeway. And this is a live look right now at the tick fire in Santa Clarita.
Yes,
and
sir.
again, the fire jumped the 14 freeway about 2 hours ago, forcing officials to close down the 14 freeway. And as you can see at this hour, it continues to rage on. At last check, this fire, the tick fire, had burned more than 4,000 acres, and it is only 5% contained. And right now, about 10,000 homes are still threatened as this fire continues to move on. And evacuation orders are in effect for about 50,000 people.
All right, from the south to the north, the Kincaid fire, it's the largest in the state right now, and it continues to burn in Sonoma County. As of early this morning, the fire had burned about 16,000 acres. The fire only about 5% contained as well. Mandatory evacuation orders are in effect for about 2,000 people. PG&E filed a report with regulators saying a broken jumper cable on one of its transmission towers may be to blame for the fire. The broken jumper cable was only discovered after the fire broke out. So far, 49 structures have been destroyed in that fire, but there have been no reported injuries, deaths, or missing people as a result.
And our coverage on these wildfires continues this morning on Today. And here's NBC's Joe Fryer with a look at what's coming up at 7 a.m.
Good morning. A number of big fires are burning across California, including one here in wine country. It moved very quickly, propelled by wind gusts that topped 70 miles an hour. The winds have died down a little bit right now, but are expected to pick up again this weekend. We will bring you the very latest coming up this morning on Today.
Back here at home this morning, we're following a deadly shooting that happened overnight. It happened just after midnight on Niles and Normandy at La Via Taqueria. Deputies say a man was shot multiple times inside the restaurant, taken to the hospital. Not sure of his condition this morning. While deputies were on scene, they found a second person also suffering from gunshot wounds. That person was in the middle of the street and was pronounced dead at the scene. An investigation into the shooting is still ongoing. Highway 178 is back open at Rancheria Road this morning after a deadly crash. It happened just before 5:30 last night. Bakersfield police say an SUV was headed west on the 178 at a high rate of speed. The SUV hit a tractor trailer. A woman who was a passenger in the SUV died at the scene. The male driver suffered minor injuries, and the driver of the tractor trailer was not hurt. BPD says it's unknown if drugs or alcohol were factors in this crash.
The Bakersfield City Council is nixing a parking rule so new businesses can find a spot downtown. In the past, city regulations require different parking spaces for different businesses, even if a building was converted into a new business. Here's an example. If a developer turned an office into a restaurant, they would need to create more parking space. But according to City Council, there isn't enough space to add more parking, and that rule has been stopping new businesses. So last night, the City Council approved an amendment that removes the rule and allows conversions to continue.
Still ahead this morning on Sunrise, it's a popular app, but is your security at risk?
While lawmakers say the TikTok app could allow other countries to spy on American citizens. We'll explain coming up.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News with Maddie Jansen, Alex Fisher, and Kevin Charette with your Pinpoint Doppler forecast. This is 17 News at Sunrise.
And the Friday Night Lights are back tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Week 9 of high school football kicks off tonight. Tabitha's here to break it all down for us. Tell us where everyone stands.
Yeah. You know what? And if you try to make sense of it, I think a lot of people are talking about that right now. You'd lose your mind because everybody, it's so close and there's a lot of parity this year. So it's a good time to watch high school football in our community. So week 9 of high school football action is winding down, and there's only 1 week left after of league play after tonight. And let's take a look at league standings. Starting in the Southwest Yosemite League, Liberty coach Brian Nixon and the Patriots are leading the way 3-0, 3-0, following closely behind those Stockdale and BHS, both 2-1 this season. Stockdale played Liberty already this year, though, and lost. BHS has Liberty on the schedule next week, and there is certainly a lot on the line there. In the Southeast Yosemite League, Highland is leading the way, which we've mentioned. The bullpen catcher for the Nationals, Octavio Martinez, he graduated from Highland, and he asked me to give his Scots a shout-out. He says, here's to a Nationals World Series, and here's to a league title for the Scots. So if that is a motivation, I don't know what that is. But the Scots have a tough test to end the season, facing South tonight and East next week. In the South Yosemite League, we've got two teams contending for the top spot. We have Ridgeview and Independence. They're both 3-0 in league play. They're both set to face off against each other next week. Next week is the big rivalry week. But first, Independence has to get past BHS, which is pretty tough, and tonight to stay in contention for that title. After that, we've got the South Sequoia League. Kennedy remains undefeated in league play, but this is a league full of rivalries, and players put it all on the line each and every week. Next week is the big rivalry week, as I mentioned. Kennedy versus Chavez, Shafter versus Wasco. Who knows what will happen between now and then? Could Kennedy take it all? Will Chavez grab a piece of the pie? It's all up in the air. And as I mentioned, Maddie and Alex, I mean, next week is the week. This week, it all counts. You got to get to next week. But that's when we're going to see Shafter versus Wasco, Kennedy versus Chavez, all of the big games that we wait for all season. And so it's going to be an exciting wind down to league play.
Mm-hmm. All right. Exciting weekend. Thanks so much, Tab.
And Game 3 of the World Series is tonight. It's the Nationals versus the Houston Astros. And, of course, we're trying to see who's going to come out on top. In the history of the World Series, 55 teams have taken a 2-0 advantage in the World Series. 44 have won it all. And last night, 17's Tabitha Mills spoke with Octavio Martinez, the Bakersfield product, catching the bullpen for the Nationals. He says 2 down and 2 to go. The Nationals are ready for Game 3. Tonight's game is in Washington. That marks the first time the World Series has had a game in Washington since 1933, when the New York Giants beat the Washington Senators in 10 innings at Griffith Stadium to win the championship in 5 games.
Coming up, a downtown business shutting its doors for good.
Yeah, what's behind the closure of this trendy men's clothing store coming up.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back. The grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX comes at a high cost to airlines. American and Southwest Airlines reported Thursday a combined loss of at least $1 billion. That figure is expected to grow. American Airlines has 24 of the troubled jets. Southwest has 31. That's more than any other Boeing customer. United Airlines has 14 of the Boeing 737 MAX planes, but has not released an estimate of its losses. The model was grounded worldwide in March after 2 deadly crashes, killing 346 people. Boeing has already set aside $5 billion to compensate for losses. If you're like many people, you've got multiple debts: the car loan, credit cards, maybe a mortgage, and if you have extra cash, which is the best one to pay off? The answer may surprise you. Here's Money reporter Stacey Johnson.
If you're in debt, you're not alone. According to NerdWallet, the average household with credit card debt owes more than $16,000. Paying down debt is super important. But when you find a little extra money, which would you do? Apply it to the smallest debt to get rid of it, or the debt with the highest interest rate? Closing small accounts makes you feel like you've accomplished something. Unfortunately, when it comes to math, it's not the right thing to do.
Well, certainly if consumers are allocating all of the money that they can to debt, then definitely the best thing to do is to always send that money towards the debt or the loan with the highest APR.
That's one of the authors of a study by Washington University. They found that although the math always favors paying high-interest debts first, people are highly likely to pay off smaller, low-interest accounts instead. They called the tendency to do this debt account aversion, being compelled to eliminate accounts. So should you always put any extra money on the highest interest rate? Well, the math definitely says yes, but there's more to it than math. There's also motivation.
If consumers find themselves not allocating enough money from spending to debt repayment, then to get more excited about the debt repayment process, they may want to let themselves close those accounts because it's better to pay down some debt than to pay down none.
Bottom line, paying your highest interest debt is best, but keeping yourself motivated is everything. I've got specific ideas to help you destroy your debt. Just go to moneytalksnews.com and do a search for the word debt. For Money Talks News, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Money Talks is brought to you by your local consumer credit counseling service. If you've got debt problems or just want some free budget counseling, call today.
A clothing store in downtown Bakersfield plans to shut its doors next month because of ongoing vandalism. Blue Stag is a men's clothing store and has been at 20th Street for about 2 years. According to its Facebook page, Blue Stag plans to close November 8th. The store's front door was boarded up when we tried to talk with management. Neighboring business owners tell 17 News that Blue Stag has been hit by vandals several times, including just a few weeks ago.
Bakersfield is trying to find a way to deal with homelessness and vandalism, and yesterday, dozens of downtown business owners and elected representatives got together to discuss ways to make our streets safer. Yesterday, the Downtown Business Association held a block-to-block luncheon. The DBA's block-to-block program consists of roughly 70 volunteer block captains who check in with their neighboring businesses downtown, where just this year, 99 business vandalisms and another 155 business burglaries took place. At the event yesterday, 6 business owners were sworn in as block-to-block captains.
We've had some issues with people on our block. The way our building is set up, we have a little indention area where the entranceway, and it's a perfect place for homeless to sleep there because they have shelter and they can stay out of the rain. And even dismantling their benches or something to that effect when they have nothing else to do.
Also working toward a solution, BPD. BPD has an impact team of 20 officers who every day work with only homeless individuals.